With the release of Neverwinter Nights 2 Enhanced Edition, I started thinking what'd be good to play next. So I made a list with different strengths: deep roleplay systems, amazing stories with a ton of choice, and the heart of D&D or something inspired by it. So let's take a look at games that are like Neverwinter Nights 2. Of course, one must first pay homage to this game. A lot of the foundation for Neverwinter Nights is clearly within Baldur's Gate 2. Baldur's Gate 2 uses an older rule set of D&D, AD&D 2.0, so fans of the systems in Neverwinter Nights will find something similar, but different enough to have some fun with. The stories are kind of echoes of each other, with Neverwinter and Baldur's Gate as the big cities in each respective game. They both have a party of companions with optional characters. Baldur's Gate 2 has 6 total members instead of Neverwinter's 4, or 5 later on in the expansion. Baldur's Gate 2 is for many people the peak of the CRPG genre and is well worth playing for fans of Neverwinter Nights 2. Baldur's Gate has its own Enhanced Edition on Switch, PS4, Xbox One, Steam, and mobile. Dragon Age Origins came out only 3 years later than Neverwinter Nights 2, and it expands on the formula in different ways. Dragon Age has more focus on the characters, their relationships between each other, and their relationship with the world. It takes place in an entirely different universe, not being grounded in D&D, but it has a good amount of similarities mechanically. It was the next game with similar themes that BioWare went on to make, having dabbled in other genres with Mass Effect and Knights of the Old Republic. It has a modernized real-time with pause combat that is a bit more simple to get into. That means the systems aren't quite as deep as Neverwinter Nights or Baldur's Gate. Still, well worth checking out. It is on PS3, Xbox 360, and PC. Icewind Dale came before Neverwinter Nights and is actually where Josh Sawyer, one of Obsidian's key developers, got his start. It's a bit more combat focused than some of the other games like Baldur's Gate or Planescape Torment, but still has a good story and a foundation of D&D. A lot of people don't think it gets the credit it deserves, and some even think it's better than Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter Nights. So since it's in the same conversation, it only makes sense to give it a try for yourself and make up your own mind. Much like Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter Nights, it also has an Enhanced Edition, and the sequel, Icewind Dale 2, has a fan-made Enhanced Edition, so check them both out. Pathfinder: Wrath of the Righteous is one of the best CRPGs in recent memory. It has everything that you may have loved from Neverwinter Nights: a deep and engaging combat system, interesting characters, and a great story with plenty of choices that affect how the narrative plays out. And if you prefer turn-based to real-time with pause, as an option for you to swap modes at any time. One of the things that makes Wrath of the Righteous unique is in the mythic paths, which are paths you can take that are specific to your character. You can end up becoming a dragon, a demon, or something much more terrifying. That sort of ability and depth to play as a character is very uncommon, even in some of the best RPGs out there, so I highly recommend checking this one out. Pathfinder: Wrath of the Righteous is on all modern consoles and on PC. And if you think the systems in Pathfinder: Wrath of the Righteous sound interesting but would rather fight to become king, instead of taking Mythic Path, Pathfinder Kingmaker is also a great game. I would say that Wrath of the Righteous is better, but some people might find some of the themes and concepts in Kingmaker more engaging. They're both solid choices, so you can't really go wrong here. Pathfinder Kingmaker is available on Xbox Series X and S, PS5, and PC. Solasta: Crown of the Magister is a much more combat-focused game, but deserves to be on this list for the more gameplay-oriented people. It follows the rules of D&D 5th edition and has a ton of depth and ways to play the game. That doesn't mean it has no narrative at all, but it's a bit more linear with fewer choices than many of the other games on the list. And if the premise sounds more interesting, but you prefer something more open, Solasta 2 will be releasing in early access later in 2025, with a promise to be exactly that, with all new visuals, updated rule sets, but still with the promise to have high-tier gameplay. You can play Solasta: Crown of the Magister on Xbox Series X, S, PS5, and PC. Pillars of Eternity was Obsidian's first foray into crowdfunding for their games, and was honestly a great success. It builds on earlier ideas from games like Neverwinter Nights 2, with an entire new universe all of their own making, though it has some clear D&D influences. For those who enjoyed the writing style and the themes that were in Neverwinter, you'll be right at home here, and it has a great follow-up in Pillars of Eternity 2, Deadfire, where you sail the seas and fight off pirates, or join them. Probably the biggest strength of Pillars of Eternity is in the lore, which seeps into every corner of the gameplay, so for lore nerds, this is definitely a series for you. You can get Pillars of Eternity on Switch, PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Tyranny is a smaller project from Obsidian that hit a lot higher than its weight with a very unique premise. The heroes have already lost. The world is on the verge of being united by a godlike being, and you're one of his servants, but you can either enforce his will or take up the fight against him. It plays out mechanically much like some of the other games on this list, pretty close to Pillars of Eternity, real-time with pause and a 4-person party, like Neverwinter Nights 2, and a good amount of systems to play with. It almost feels more like a board game in some ways, with some really cool choices and fun themes throughout. You can play Tyranny on Steam and GOG. The next two games have much different combat, but I would still say they're a great evolution of the ideas from earlier games like Neverwinter Nights. Baldur's Gate 3 is the most acclaimed CRPG in recent memory. It would be negligent not to at least put it near the end of the list here. The big difference is in the turn-based systems, which are still based in D&D, but have a much different feel than Neverwinter Nights. It takes place in the area near and in Baldur's Gate, and it's acclaimed for a reason, with an insane amount of choices, systems to play with, and fantastic cast of characters, not to mention some of the highest production values for this type of RPG ever. Well worth your time and highly recommended. You can get Baldur's Gate 3 on the Xbox Series X, S, PS5, and PC. The creator of Baldur's Gate 3's previous game, Divinity Original Sin 2, is also a must-play for CRPG fans. It takes place in a universe that Larian has worked on for over 2 decades and has a lot of the core systems that BG3 is known for. A big part of what makes it so fun is the interactions between different elements in and out of combat that you can use for a variety of effects, including exploding the hell out of your enemies. Another high recommendation, especially if you loved Neverwinter Nights 2 and Baldur's Gate 3. So, that's the end of the list. There are a ton of different options for people that are fans of Neverwinter Nights 2. If you have any others you would recommend, feel free to post them in the comments. I do videos on Western RPGs, JRPGs, and story-based games, so if you like that, make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.